Bay. And why I've got the name of Frenchman's Bay, you've got to go back in history a little bit to 1852, when there was a French colony called the Ultimate that was making its way down to New Zealand coast. It got caught in a storm of what is now known as Bailey's Beach. The shore of Bailey's Beach there. A lot of the some of the French sailors perished there, but others managed to get ashore. Now they got ashore there and fairly disorientated. There wasn't a lot of people living on the Poto Peninsula from Bailey's Beach down to Poto. Not a lot of Europeans living there. The French sailors made their way down the beach into Poto. They ended up living with the Maori people there for some time. Eventually the Maoris arranged transportation from Poto. They went back across to Helensville. They walked overland into Riverhead, cut it from Riverhead through to Port Albert and Auckland, where eventually they repatriated back to France. But there was a small group of them who got involved with a few Maori ladies down at Poto there, and they didn't want to go home. I suppose Frenchmen would be quite known to doing that sort of thing. Well, they didn't want to go home, so they deserted and ended up living over in the bay to the right-hand side of the boat. And remember back in 1852, it was area that we can't see any land up in that area there. So it's all internal harbour waters, and we're getting up to harbour waters, and we'll be getting across the left-hand side of the boat there. And all this peninsula over to the left of that peninsula comes all the way down from the area of Matakoe, mountains of Matakoe by one side, comes right down through to Tinopai, and then back around to the area of Kewpie. Kaipara Harbour is a major carry milling town. There were two large carry mills here at Tinopai, and the ships came in overseas water all the way across the Kaipara Harbour and through here to the settlement of Tinopai. So very important, very busy carry milling town here at Tinopai. Now the kauri timber industry got underway here in the Kaipara Harbour in the early 1840s. And by the turn of that century, the early 1900s, the timber was getting quite scarce. And a lot of the townships that were around the Kaipara really built towns or they galley towns over time as people moved on and searched for work elsewhere. Because here at Tinopai, people liked it here. So what they did to make life viable, they established some large community orchards across here at Tinopai. They grew a lot of apples and other pip fruit here at Tinopai, big communal pack houses down on the foreshore there. The fruit was grown, it was picked and packed, and the steamers running from the railhead at Helensville would make their way from Helensville right across the harbour here, call into Tinopai, collect the fruit, which was then taken back through to Helensville on the train for the Auckland markets. Bay was a real hive of industry here in the early days. And Batley in the early days, one of the first schools in the Odomatia was constructed. There used to be a fish cannery here. The cannery canned the grey mullet, which were then and still are very prolific around the creeks and rivers of the Kaipara. But the cannery also canned fruit and canned meat out here at one stage at Batley. There's also a ostrich farm here. They were growing the ostrich for the feathers, and also there was a flour mill in here at Batley. In the early 1860s, one Joseph Masefield arrived here at Batley, and he built the Batley Hotel. If you look over to the left-hand side of the boat there, you can see the Batley Hotel coming into view. Now, 1866, the Batley Hotel opened for business, and when Batley Hotel opened here, it quickly became the social centre of the whole Odomatia. People came from far and wide to enjoy the hospitality which was offered here at the Batley Hotel. Now, Batley Hotel quickly became part of the steamer routes operating into Northland. These old hotels, such as Batley, you'll see them around the Kaipara. A lot of them don't operate as hotels anymore, but they were so important to the early travellers, because those early travellers were at the mercy of the tides, the weather, the steamer schedules, and they needed to rest overnight or for several days perhaps before continuing on to the gum fields and bush camps of the northern part of the Kaipara. Here, marae. You can see the marae over there to the left. You also see the 1860s church as one of the Reverend William Gittos's church that he built in the early 1860s here at Karakarai, where there was a Maori village here. But many years before Gittos came and brought Christianity to this part of the world there, the site of Karakarai, there's a village there around the early 1800s, Maori village across there to the left, and it was the site of a major battle between Ngāpuhi and Ngāti Whātua. Principal tribe in the Kaipara Harbour in the early days was the Ngāti Whātua, but in the very early part of the 1800s, Ngāpuhi came down from north. Ngāpuhi had managed to get hold of some muskets from some of the early traders in the Bay of Islands, and as they swept south, they virtually annihilated the Ngāti Whātua people from this area. And across here, Karakarai was the site of a major battle between the two warring tribes. It is also said that it is one of the places that one of the last acts of cannibalism happened across here with the between the two warring tribes here at Karakarai. Left there, but that's the old Tanoa schoolhouse, and it dates back to a time when the only access here, of course, was by water transport. The teacher lived on site, lived in the schoolhouse there, and the pupils would all come in by water transport. What usually happened, the oldest child was selected to row the big dinghy, the big open Kaipara punt, and they would row upstream or downstream to attend school across there at the Tanoa schoolhouse. You can just come into view there now. Even today, there's no real vehicular access into where that building is.
just go around to the left. Go the other way, go to the left side.
Separates the waterway that we're in now from the Atiu River, from the Atiu River, which is on the northern side, and we're going to actually completely circumnavigate this peninsula there. We'll make our way right around the Hargraves, what we call the Hargraves Run. We'll tell you a little bit more about that shortly, and we're going to come right along the other side of the peninsula we're looking in now.
This part is the Tapora Peninsula. And this is the Atiu Creek route
to the park. Looking back to the left-hand side of the boat, back into the Tapora Peninsula there. Look at the highest part of the land over to the left there, and you come about a quarter of a way down, and you'll see there's a white building with a blue roof directly to the left of the boat there now. This is the Peninsula Chapel in a place called Forahini on the Tapora Peninsula. And of course the centre of all these early communities around the Kaipara were their churches, and it was in 1867 the Peninsula Chapel was constructed over to the left there. It was actually prefabricated and brought out to New Zealand in the hold of one of the early sailing ships, and erected up on the hill there to the left, where it still stands there today. And of course it's still in use. It's very popular for weddings and other services across there at the historic Peninsula Chapel, 1867, built there on the hill at Forahini. Joseph Hargraves, who came to this area in 1860. Over to the left where the beach starts, he established his first home there, quite a large villa across there. It's all gone, burnt down in the 1920s apparently. And when Joseph Hargraves moved in there, it was a very rugged country covered with kauri and other scrub, and he set about making a life for himself here and milling the kauri timber. And it's almost hard to believe the isolation of the area when Hargraves moved in here. The Albert Land community in 1860 hadn't started. It didn't get going until 1862, 1863. So Joseph Hargraves, he was right out here on his own in 1860. Then goods he required or anything produced on the farm all had to go out across the Kaipara Bar and either directly overseas or around to Auckland. The rail coming to Helensville, which was the first rail to touch the Kaipara, it didn't happen until the early 1880s. But Hargraves lived across there for many years, and it was a very popular picnic area when the Port Albert community got going. Early photographs depict the good people of Port Albert on a very hot, sweltering New Year's Day of being down here on the beach at horse races and all the other necessary, I guess, facilities for the early Victorian picnics across there.
side of the Kahukua Peninsula, where I did geology field work in 1970.
Is the waterhole, and it was a place that the early sailing ships used to call into to fill the water barrels before they made their journey overseas. Water was a very precious commodity around the early Kauri mills. Didn't have a lot of it, and the sailing ships in the harbour here needed water before they could make their way out across the bar and away overseas. Used to be a freshwater spring coming out of the hillside there, and the ships coming down from Tihana, Port Albert, and even from up the Odomatia and right around the Kaipara, they've called in here to access the water, very good quality water coming out of the water hole, the spring there.